Hello, hello. Good morning, good day. Nice to see you. I'm really delighted to be sharing this time with each of you and also with Hagen. I'm glad that Hagen's here and that you've joined us. For those of you who don't know Hagen, Hagen and I are partners, and he's both in life and in business. So we work together and we are making this cosmic journey together. And he's a splenic projector on the cross of explanation. And I know that you will get a sense of what that cross means today, because he is a master and a beautiful, beautiful natural talent at explaining the intricacies and the depths of human design. And I really love talking about human design with Hagen. It's one of my favorite things. And that always reminds me this time of year, one of my, this is when as a child, we used to always watch The Sound of Music this time of year. So I was thinking about that as when there's a memory that comes up around that. These are a few of my favorite things. And talking to Hagen about human design and these deeper layers is definitely one of my favorites. So yeah, it's wonderful to be bringing each of you in and sharing in this way. And hi, Joni, and hi, Kat Kim. Nice to see you. Oh, it's been a while. Oh, all these old friends and new friends. Yeah, wonderful. So, so good. Yeah, so thanks for being here today, Hagen. Is there anything you'd like to say as we're getting started?
Yeah, also so much gratitude. I love seeing everybody's faces here on the screen, old friends and new. It's really heartwarming to come together in this way. And yeah, it's just a real joy for me to be here, do this human design thing, and be exploring all of this. I think it's a very unique opportunity. I'm thrilled that so many of you have really shown up to this today. And it's an exciting milestone for us as well. Like Alana and I, we've been exploring this transition um, through a human design lens for a few years now, and it's the first time that we're kind of exploring this with, in a collective space and bringing this to others. So.
Mhm.
Um, For those of you who also have your own experience already with human design and with the transition into the new year, please feel free to, chime in the chat here, and I'm sure that we'll be looking for, yeah, your experiences as well in all of this. And yeah, so I know we only have an hour together, but yeah, I'm really stoked.
I imagine that we'll have some time afterwards to be able to talk to, and I mean, but I'm going to try to keep our presentation to our little sharing to an hour, so then we do have some time to connect. So yeah, and just to kind of give a little bit of a frame of when I found human design 10 years ago now, it gave me the map to really understand who I am and how my energy moves uniquely in my body, what my impact is on others, and to understand the people in my life through knowing their designs and how we connect with each other relationally. Understanding these underlying mechanics has really made all the difference in my life. And there are deeper layers to human design. This is what's really exciting about this, is that I don't get a chance to go this much deeper with when I'm in my sessions with clients. So it's really fun to be able to look at this layer together, because there's deeper layers that go beyond just understanding ourselves, that actually explain why things are the way they are here on planet Earth, and that there's a cycle, a consistent pattern that we move throughout the year. And so for many years now, I've been closing the new year according to a very different rhythm than everything that's out there and what our conditioning says, and, the Spotify wrap ups this time of year. And because one of the things that human design speaks about is, and we know this in nature, not just in human design, but that every cycle has a natural beginning, middle, and end. And each cycle is designed to build on lessons that we learn from the past. And over time, the collection of our experiences creates a foundation upon which that can ensure our growth. And it's essential that we wait until an experience has reached its natural conclusion instead of forcing a premature ending. Otherwise, we can find ourselves stuck in patterns and repeating old patterns because they just were not completed correctly. So when something ends correctly, the next beginning just happens naturally. And how we close a chapter really does shape what comes next. Sorry, just a few more folks coming in here. So December 31st as New Year's always felt a bit strange to me. I don't know about anybody else, but I never really enjoyed celebrating that time of year. It always felt like so intense and like people were getting in fights at parties. And I was just like, what is happening here? And then the New Year's resolutions that I made never really stuck either. So when I began working with this closing sequence that we're going to walk you through today, and asking myself these inquiry questions, things started to feel much more aligned. And now I actually look forward to this time of year. I actually love this sort of counter side of being like, oh, you guys are all celebrating the new year, but you don't actually know what's going on over here. I kind of, there's this heretical and martyr side of me that really enjoys that. And so, yeah, it's about really, not forcing a new beginning, but instead ending something really well. And so our intention today is simple. We want to support each of you in honoring the ending of this year in your own natural way, through your type strategy and authority, of course, and then letting what's coming next unfold correctly for you. Because a correct experience naturally creates progress. And that desire for a better year is something that we all share. And very few people, though, are ever really shown how this works, how to work with these timing and cycles in a way that actually supports this. So thank you for being here. It's really lovely. And with that introduction, thanks, Violet. With that introduction, I'm going to invite Hagen to walk us through and do your magic here of explaining and sharing our slides, please.
All right, then thank you so much, Alannah, for opening the space and sharing your experience. That's always, yeah, really rich. I'm sure everyone here appreciates that so much. Let's get into it, right? Let's just dive into this human design matrix here and take a look at what the new year represents in human design. What is it about? We've got the sequence marked out here, these different gates, these 4 stages that run up to what is going to be the new year in human design. It's going to be different to what maybe some of us here are used to. I put a little collage together to stimulate our visual sense a little bit with different themes that are involved in navigating time and space. Over the course of civilization, humanity has produced many different kinds of calendars, as diverse as our cultures, designed to measure our movement through time and space, and different calendars that also serve different purposes. What they all have in common, though, is that they track meaningful changes, right? And so as we observe our movement through the cosmos, we notice that important changes and events occur, and they occur cyclically. And we seek to understand those and be prepared for them. All of biological life has in common that the better prepared we are for what's coming, the more at ease we feel in the present. And for humans, there's also something else. There's a unique kind of joy that emerges from being in sync with the flow of the cosmos, universe. This is a profound spiritual experience for self-reflected consciousness. The advent of the modern world, right, over here, has brought with it the civic calendar aimed at streamlining bureaucracy and the coordination of globalization. And so while the invention of the calendar has made it possible to synchronize very large populations, it has also created the potential for widespread desync from nature and from the natural flow of things, as our pressure systems are taken over by artificial cycles, business cycles, rather than natural rhythms. So worldwide, we now live by a calendar tuned to the clock of money making, where the competition between nations and bureaucratic states sets the pace. And right, this no longer has anything to do with cosmic alignment or natural flow. Not much anyway. The experiences that then deep down we feel, at least I imagine those of us gathered here today, experiences that we feel are also our birthright, experiences that we seek out whenever we retreat from productive civic life, right? Those are these experiences of this natural flow, being in alignment, as we talk about it today. And so what if you had a calendar that allowed you to do both, to both integrate into the material world and the kind of the collective rhythm, while at the same time being able to find your own unique alignment with the cosmos based on your design? And what if your personal growth and your own development did not have to be at odds with the material demands of the world around you? So that's a little what if question in here, right? Open the door to seeing this whole journey and the annual experience of traveling around the sun in a different light. Alannah and I, we have been immersed in a project for the last few years, creating a personal alignment calendar that bridges the themes of humanity's collective journey with what is uniquely going to be relevant to you in your own process. And so our goal here, and Alannah already introduced that, is really to help you discover themes that are going to be really uniquely organizing to you, your life, your journey, your expansion of consciousness, while at the same time being able to take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you at the specific time of the year. So you can experience that flow with the current rather than struggling against it. And you're also then able to avoid any distractions that get you stuck or disrupt your momentum, something that is otherwise also a common experience throughout the year, right? Everyone knows that in this single journey around the sun, that's a complete cycle of experience, right? It's something that we celebrate every New Year and every birthday, right? There's this cycle, and then there's meant to be a renewal. And so the sun energizes life to grow and evolve, and every year there's something new for each of us to bring into our lives. And so how do we find our alignment with that? That's our aim here. And so with that, we're going to bring in some tools. So let's start with our main tool here, the Rave Mandala wheel. So this comes from Human Design. We have Rahul to thank for this. Right? This is something that functions both as a calendar and the clock at the same time. So what you're looking at here is the planets of our relevant planets of our solar system represented. And these are the elements that we track in a human design chart and in what we call the transits, right? So where these are at any given point in the year is something that we map onto this wheel here. And so some calendars track the seasons, some calendars track fiscal quarters. Some are organized by the 13 full moons per year. Some are organized by the orbit around the sun, right? The Gregorian calendar that counts January 1st, 2026 as a new year is a solar calendar. So that's designed to track the Earth's orbit around the sun. The months are not synchronized with the phases of the moon. And a leap year is used to correct for gradual drifting and maintaining the seasonal consistency. Our Rave calendar here in human design is also a solar calendar like that. It's organized around our journey around the sun. The symbol over here represents the sun. The symbol represents the earth. You can imagine these rotating around that wheel, always in the polarity that they're in, right? So making this journey all the way around. Summer solstice, autumn equinox, winter solstice, spring equinox, and so on, right? This is how we measure and track time. And you can plot any of these planets onto here and see where they are in relationship to one another, in relationship to us. Now, rather than tracking days, right, in the Gregorian calendar, we track days, right? A day and a night cycle, and then we move on to the next day, right? We don't really fully track days here. We track sequential stages in an evolutionary process, right? And those are the gates. You can also look at the faces here. There are different layers to this, but the layer that we'll be looking at today is really these 64 gates. And these come from the I Ching, ancient Chinese I Ching. Okay? And so every year the sun moves through all of these 64 gates to mark a complete solar cycle. And so by reading into this, right, and knowing the nature of these 64 gates, we can identify where we are in our journey, and what our moment in time is about. We can also check, for anyone who wants to do that, right? You can check where any day in any other calendar falls, right? What the energy of that day is going to be. And we know the primary energy of a gate by understanding, firstly, where it is in the body graph. So you see this human design body graph in the center. You have the 9 centers also here of the body graph and the channels that connect them. Understanding where the gate is placed in the body graph and the function it has there tells us what the energy is about. And so that gives you a glimpse in what the energy of the day or that specific stretch of time that you're looking at, what it's really emphasizing. So for example, today our sun here is in gate 58, right? And the Earth is always going to be polar opposite, gate 52. So when you understand what these gates are, I'll zoom in here. They're located. Let's get a color in here. Right here and right here. And they're in the root center. Okay, and so the root center is a center for adrenal pressure. So you know that the time that we're in right now is a time of pressure. Okay, what kinds of pressure? The 58 is called joy. It's a pressure that fuels this whole process here. I'm going to zoom out again. It's a pressure that fuels this whole stream on this side of the body graph. It's about making the world a better place. It's the fuel to make the world a better place, by correcting patterns, by challenging authorities, also to make sure that the authorities that we have really deserve to be there, really deserve to be in the positions of power that they are. It is the energy to, yeah, correct systems of all kinds. And so, and to go on to all kinds of experiments. It fuels scientific processes. It's a very sought after energy. It's an energy that really fuels how we move into the future together, right? And so this is very interesting energy to have on the one side, balanced by, on the other side, the 52. As you saw, that was also in the root center, an energy that connects to the sacral here. That is about concentration. So it's the 52 itself is about stillness. It's the ability to sit still, the pressure actually not to move, but to sit still and focus on something, to focus on the work that's in front of you, to focus on a pattern that's in front of you, right? And so this whole movement of um, making the world a better place is actually working on patterns and improving patterns. And for that, we need a certain level of focus and stillness, right? This is one level, a mundane level of explanation of these two gates. There are also more spiritual layers to this, more transcendental layers to this, right? Deep experiences in meditation that are possible here, transcendental states, um, also fueled by these gates, in case any of you have had this experience this time around. Um, Yeah, Alana, I noticed maybe a response there.
Yeah,
You
well,
want to say something?
I just wanted to share that I always love this week after Christmas because it's like all the running and that's right, Joy. Yeah, perfect day to schedule this call. Yeah, all that build up to Christmas and and then we hit Christmas and then we come to the other side and then the 58 comes in and the 52 comes in. And so it's just this experience of like stillness and joy. And it's such, to me, it's such a like a time of just like it feels very clear, like a crisp winter day, sunny, crisp winter day is what this time of year feels like. So yeah, and I recognize that as a rhythm that I notice every year as a pattern. Mhm.
That's really, really excellent. I love how you always bring things back into something that's experientially easy to grasp,
Mm,
right? I saw people nodding their heads as you were talking, right? That crisp, sunny winter day,
mhm.
right? We actually had a day like that here today in Belgium. That's kind of cool. Um, yeah, and it does. It feels that way to me as well. And so from here, if we were to make the next leap, um, we see that, so this transition here, this is like Christmas time, and then after Christmas, and then we move towards the new year. January 1st, 2026, the sun will be in gate 38. Okay, and this gate is called opposition, the gate of the fighter, right? And so this is a gate where the pressure is not just pressure, it's also a gate of tension. It's known for being a gate of tension that's being put out. Right? And this gate is also in the root center. And and so this pressure also then becomes the dominant theme that humanity will collectively experience on that day. And so, and this has been occurring for some time already, that this pressure is the pressure that we experience on New Year's Eve and the New Year's transition. So it is not really an energy for starting anything new. And it's not the gate that initiates a new energetic cycle either. The gate that does that is the 41. And so we know then that there is a gap between when we celebrate New Year's in the Gregorian calendar and when energetically the new year is actually released, according to human design anyway. Right? So knowing that, what is the 41 about? Um, it's called the gate of contraction, also a root center gate. And so this is always something I appreciate pointing out actually. Um, we have like two major pressure seasons in the year. right? These pressure gates, they are on opposite ends of the wheel from each other. Um, yeah, we'll get to the date for gate 41 in a second there, Kat, thanks. Um, so these pressure seasons, right? There's always, this time of year and then 6 months from now, that we move through that. This is the major pressure season. It's like, yeah, I'll probably hop over to that slide right now, actually. It is kind of like this. It's like the tension and the pressure in the string of a bow before a new arrow is launched, right? It's that pressure that allows you then to find your aim and then be released and take flight, right? So major pressure season, that's what we're in. And the 41st gate is then called contraction. It's the gate of the dreamer. It is the gate that contains um, within itself a genetic codon that is called the start codon. It's the only gate in the wheel that has that start codon that starts every genetic sequence, right? So really, at the very essence of that, it is the thing that releases a new experience. And so a dream that brings in the pressure for a new experience that wants to be lived and shared and to attract the manifestation of that dream. Um, the sun moves into this gate on January 22nd, 2026. And that marks the true energetic beginning of the new year according to human design. Right? So, right, that's quite a ways off from January 1st. And so what then are all these gates in between about? What's the distance between now and then? And what is that about? That's what we're going to take a look at. So we'll look at gate 38, 54, 61, 60, and then the release of the new year in the 41. Okay, so far so good, everybody. This has been, yeah, easy, clear, super. Alrighty. Okay, so the 4 stages of completing the year. You can see them mapped on the body graph. 38, 54, 61, 60, and then the 41. All of them are pressure gates. Root pressure down below, head pressure up above. And so it's the pressure that kind of squeezes us into the new year or launches our arrow. So let's begin. December 30th to January 5th, we have the gate of the fighter, opposition, the ability to preserve individual integrity through opposition to detrimental forces. What is it about? This is the fuel to fight for purpose. Anyone has the channel 3828, it's the channel of struggle. It's struggling for purpose in the moment, in the now, being attuned to what matters and what is the way forward that feels purposeful. On the other side of the wheel, while the sun transits this gate, the earth will transit the 39. That's about finding the right spirit. So you can bring that into the contemplation as well. So opposition, 38, 39 is this tension. And this tension you can feel also relationally, right? It's like, are we going to be able to find purpose together? Is this like, which way are we going to go here, right? And is this person also presenting the right spirit for you? And also, it is energy for assessment, reevaluation. So, an invitation to assess, evaluate how the year has been, right? On this solar cycle, did you find your purpose this year? Or what was purposeful to you this year? Did you find the right spirit within yourself, also on the other side of the duality, right? Other people that were with you. So this is going to be there New Year's Eve. So if it feels a little bit emotionally charged or volatile or melancholic, right? That's part of it. That's part of what this energy brings in. So the week is for checking in with your spirit. Oh, nice. Yeah. Um, Also, potentially noticing, yeah, what has not been that, right? Has anything been in your way? Um, Anything that's been draining, right? You want to check in with your design and what's been energizing for you, what's been fueling this sense of purpose and the correct spirit, and what didn't feel aligned. So, not yet setting New Year's resolutions or projecting into the future too much, right? This is a different contemplation. Then we move on. The next gate, January 5th until January 10th. Gate 54, the marrying maiden, ambition, interaction in its mundane social context, but also one's mystical and cosmic relationships. This image actually is really cool and very apt for this. This spiraling staircase, or you could even imagine like a ladder up to a better place, right? And the people that you might make that journey with, right? The 54 is also this root gate that is fueling the, yeah, the rise up in the world, ambition, the way in which that um, you support each other, or we support each other. You support your tribe supports you in improving the quality of life that you have. And so that can be materially, that can be uh, spiritually. The question here then, did you find your allies? Who was there for you? Also, were there any obstacles along the way? Where did it work? Where did it not? With whom were you able to really complete full experiential cycles? Right? Who did you share ambitions with? Right? And could you move through new beginnings? It's possible also that at this time, the seeds for the new year already start to kind of come together, like new potential relationships or new potential people for going through the next cycle with. Um, doesn't always have to happen this way, but it can. And so this is forward-looking motion already, right? Rising up, ascension, supporting transformation, right? Transformation of the life. On the other side of the wheel, right? The earth is going to move through the 53. That's about beginnings, right? Some crosses that are involved here. The cross of industry comes to mind, right? This is really like, okay, we're in this productive experiential cycle together to grow. Okay. So a moment here to evaluate, yeah, who would you like to be there with you in this next cycle, right? Which allies are you going to keep around? And yeah, some of that is going to be up to you. Not all of it is going to be up to you, right? It's part of the journey. Then January 10 until January 16th, gate 61, mystery and inner truth. Polarity to this is going to be gate 62, facts, details, precision. In gate 61, we have the awareness of universal underlying principles. And so Ra said that this week is about assessing your life with both inspiration and factual clarity, right? So this is where your inner truth also meets reality, right? That's really, really, really important, right? That there's a match between what I on the inside, you know, sense my truth is or know my truth to be, and also objective reality on the outside has, there's a fact on the other side of that, right? So that we really have a sense of reality. And so this would be a good week also for doing any kind of contemplation, journaling, solitude, a shift from also subjectivity into objectivity. The sixth line of this gate, or the journey also there, is really interesting. Um, I say that because I have the sixth line in this gate. So that's maybe my design talking. Nonetheless, did you find your inner truth and were you able to live by it this year? Right? Really good contemplation, right? Were you able to know truth? What is truth? Not always easy to know anymore these days. And with that, also the sense of reality and what the year has brought in that sense. Can you close the book also on 2025 experiences? And this is the stage in the journey where we start to close the book on 2025. Okay? The image here is is a pond, right? The stillness, the drop, the ripples on the pond. Yeah, a mystical image as well. Sometimes the truth comes from the silence, not the voice in the head. Next stage, January 16th to January 22. Sorry, January 22nd is how you say that in English. Um, Gate 60, limitation and acceptance. Ra said limitation is about letting go. The moment you can accept limitation, it no longer exists. Right? The acceptance of limitation is the first step in transcendence. So, um, are you accepting of the limitations that exist? Right? At this stage, this is about letting go of what didn't work, right? Letting go of the limitations, things where we might have gotten stuck, failures, things that didn't work, whatever it might be, right? Whatever the limitation might be and how we might be thinking about it. Limitation is always there, right? There's always a creative constraint. And um, and so when we accept that, we can also release the things that didn't work and things that no longer belong to the new cycle that's coming in, right? If we don't, they might be carryover, right? And so this sense of acceptance is really key. Accepting limitation does not mean necessarily um, you know, fully giving up on anything potentially changing, right? That's not the thing. It's just that within that acceptance, there is then really the possibility also for change to emerge, right? The resistance is out of the way, and life gets to evolve in the way that is natural for it to evolve. So, accepting of limitations, are you ready to let go and prepare for the new cycle? We have some days here in January to explore that, right? It doesn't all have to happen, on one night, on December 31st. You don't have to get it all together then. We have some time. Um, and then we can enter into the new year free from any unnecessary expectations as well. So 22nd to 27th of January, we have the gate of contraction, the dreamer, the limitation of resources, which maximizes development of potential, right? And this is the energy that releases the new cycle, right? Um, so here you can notice, is there a new dream emerging that resonates with you? Right? And what new experiences do you need for your growth and development in this next cycle? being open to that, right? Um, it's not necessarily something you have to mentally figure out, but it's something to open towards and notice what's emerging, right? And to then notice within, if there's multiple things emerging, right? Perhaps multiple dreams. In the weeks that follow, there's gradually going to be a trimming back of that. There's gradually going to be a focusing onto what the experience is actually going to be. But this is also something that takes place in time, right? Again, not something you have to figure out on a single day or night, right? This is just being open and being receptive also to the dream that's emerging next and the energy that comes with it. Um, and then part of that might be, right, something that you're dreaming, something that you've been longing for. And part of the human experiential way is also um, there's always fate, right? It can always be that life starts to move in a certain direction, and it's like, all right, all right, all right, I'm moving through that door, and then the door doesn't open. Like, what? How, what? I don't get it, right? Some confusion comes, and then a door somewhere else opens, right? And then there's a detour, and then, right, then things start to happen that we didn't expect. Life is always going to bring more than what we can dream up in advance. That's part of our human experience here. Okay, so far these are our stages. Um, yeah, Marie-Pierre, life is a detour, it seems. Yeah, yeah, brilliant. Um, totally. Yeah, any comments or questions so far? We have like 10 minutes here. Um, just want to make sure that we have some space for anything anyone might like to pitch in. And otherwise, I'll just move along here with a few more notes on how to attune this to your own design because everybody's different. How do you ground it into your businesses? Ooh, cool question. Very cool question. Yeah. Yep, yep, yep. You can think about these themes as they apply to your personal life. Think about these themes as well in the same way as they apply to your business life, right? Who are you on the journey with? What's the purpose of your business, right? Um, right here, think about this, right? What's the purpose? What's the right spirit of doing your business with as well, right? It's the energy that's fueling your business. Who are you in league with? Are your allies? What's been working? What's not been working? What's your team set up? How's your team designed? Anybody new coming in? Anybody looking to leave? Um, who are you in your business, right? Is it true to who you are, for example, right? Is there an alignment between, who you feel you are here to be and the purpose that your business serves? Limitations, yeah, right. Resource constraints, that's always there. That's always there. Um, but what's the nature of that? Right. Well, this could be a good time for mapping just the constraints that are in place and how you're positioned within them. And what's next? Always the question in business, right? What's next? Right. And how is that coming together? Um, but then we also need to ground that into how we actually make decisions, right? And so to give you guys a little bit more of a sense of that, I have two more images. This first here is, you can see the gates that we just walked through in the background. Here's the snapshot of them in the body graph as the sun is moving through them. And you can see that this is going to affect these designs very differently, right? These themes are available to us for contemplation anyway. but then they also might bring an energy. They might bring some level of embodiment. They might bring a pressure that may or may not be correct for you um, to follow, right? It depends on what your inner authority has to say about that. Recognize in your own design, if you have, first and foremost, um, open centers that are receptive to these gates, right? And what's that going to be for you? If you are receptive to these gates, right? For example, here on the left, 61 coming in, connecting to that 24, right? You're really receptive to that, time of mystery and inner truth, right? Your open head center is going to amplify that, right? There's going to be an increase of loopy thoughts, right? Thinking about things, revisiting things over and over and over again, right? That's all good, right? It's part of the journey. It's part of the cycle. Notice that this is coming in. Um, if you're a generator, right? Notice if you're responding to anything with that, and notice if you're emotionally defined, what your emotional clarity is actually saying about that, right? The mind can be really, really inspired in this time. There might be all kinds of things coming through, um, not just in the transit of the 61. Also, in all of these transits, there may be all kinds of things that bubble up to the surface of awareness. But bringing it back to your strategy and your authority is how you can notice when something is aligned for what's next for you specifically. Somebody else might get going on something. Somebody else might be like, oh, yeah, I got my team. I'm ready to start thinking about my new business plan and all of that. And you're like sitting around twiddling your thumbs, going like, oh, I'm not clear on anything yet, right? That's fine, right? And that's everybody has their own journey and their own timing, right? It'll come. If you have a defined system here, right? The root pressure coming in, right? Head pressure coming in, it's nothing new, right? And it's not going to necessarily push you off of what your internal definition is already orienting you towards. But it can be that you do resonate with your own design, resonate to certain themes that are going to be brought to you in these transits. There's just always an extra, yeah, emphasis when the centers are open. There's going to be that amplification. With that amplification, there's going to be loud thoughts, amplified energy, perhaps also felt in the body, and a stronger sense of urgency then to act on it in order to relieve it, right? And that's where we then make a decision to try and relieve that pressure that may or may not actually be aligned. So always when you feel that, it may be correct for you, but run it by your type strategy and authority. So Alannah's reminding us, right? Pressure is never an authority to make a decision from, right? It can inform your authority, but the authority is always a different intelligence. And so to really stick the landing then on that, um, remember how your aura works, right? It's the way that you can also recognize a correct movement is that it's going to align with how your aura works at the end of the day, right? If you're a projector, there's going to be an invitation for you. If you're a generator, there's going to be something for you to respond to in the environment, right? Not just your thoughts to respond to. There's going to be something in the environment to respond to, right? Life is going to move you as a manifester, and you know when that happens, right? There's going to be a movement that then you impact others with. As a reflector, yeah, things are going to start coming in, and then it still takes a lunar cycle, right, to really get clear if that's a big movement or not. Um, and if it's not a big movement, then clarity comes by discussing things with your community, right? So always the aura mechanics. when in doubt, when in doubt, see how your aura has been engaged or not. And that's often very telling. From there, you can bring it back to your centers. Okay, so, all right. I made it on time, Alannah.
You did so great, Hagen. Oh.
You.
Thank
Thank
you all.
you.
Well done. Yes, look at that, right on time.
That's an
Yeah, hey,
accomplishment.
that is a huge accomplishment. Very six. Do you feel successful?
Yeah, I do.
Great.
I do.
Yeah, that was really beautiful. Thank you so much. Really, really well done and well articulated. And yeah, it was fun to just kind of imagine going through what we're about to go through and just kind of prime for this sequence as it's coming and noticing, just following along as you were sharing. It was really yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, and it's interesting to watch images come through as you were having the inquiry questions and certain just yeah. So it's like the thing that I would like to share is that it's also, this is a gentle inquiry when you're doing these inquiry questions. Like just hold them gently, and like throughout the week. It's not about like really figuring it all out. It's like letting like life, as Hagen was saying, speak to you with these questions as you're walking, through the days that and the weeks to come. So yeah, and I am curious if anyone has any, speaking of questions or sharings, that they any reflections. I have some bit of energy this day if anyone would like to, and if you need to go, feel free. Yeah. Hi, Leanne, please.
Just wondered if you could comment on that, like how you practically do that. Do you kind of look at what stage you're in and then just ask those questions, like kind of in the morning and just let them percolate for the day, or just practically how do you move through that?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm aware of the timing. That's what we're going to send each of you. I'll send a little follow-up email with with those slides, so you can have those, and you can have those as the actual dates, so you know. And so I'm aware of where we are on the calendar, and then when I'm just imagining the first one, which is gate 38's coming up. Did I find my purpose, right, and what the spirit as I look back on the year? What was I struggling with? What was happening for me? And then I just kind of, the way I do it is I just like allow that to kind of, when I'm driving or when I'm cooking or when I'm just out for a walk or a ski or something, just to just kind of flow through my body, right? Through my cells a little bit, and just kind of see what wants to emerge. Instead of it being this very mental process. And the mind will be there. That we can trust that the mind's going to be there. The thoughts will be there, and the mind, and it's helpful for the mind to have something to orient to, but it's also like it's more like a felt sense at the same time. Is that? And I'm also thinking, Leanne, I know and some of the folks here on the screen, we've been working with ISOMA, right? So from Organic Intelligence, and that's image, sensation, orientation, meaning, and affect, right? So all five channels of experience, and noticing the isoma of that time can be very helpful too, and very informing. And it's because, remember, human design, the most radical and the most important thing that human design tells us is that our mind is not for making decisions.
Mm.
And so when we actually use all the channels of our experience, and I know I'm using channels sometimes can be a little confusing because channels in human design are different than channels in organic intelligence, but when we use our everyday channels of experience to actually be in our lives and receive life, something happens that's very different than just the mind grabbing onto something and wanting to answer the questions. Is that helpful, Leah?
Yeah, very. Thank you. Thank
You
you
bet.
both.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Thanks for being here. Hmm. Yeah, that's Kat.
Hello, Alannah and Hagen.
Hello.
Thank you
It's
for
so good.
hosting. This is good to be in your space again.
It's so great to see you.
Happy New Year on January 22nd.
That's right.
This was perfect timing because it really does take years to decondition from all of the outside, you know, brainwashing that we've received. And this year, finally, I'm able to be very aware of January 1st is coming, and I have a coaching business, and I need to put something out there. And I'm just paying attention to that noise, but not reacting to it for the first time. Um, but just being aware of it coming up. And as you taught me, Alannah, I'm just like looking for what feels really like yummy and what feels really good. And in my mind, I'm thinking, that's not the time to be thinking about what feels good right now. You got to do something. So there's that constant pressure is
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
And so I appreciate the timing of this workshop and what you're teaching here. And I know I've heard it so many times, but the mind is not for making decisions, and pressure is never an authority to make a decision from. It's like I have to remind myself of that again and again.
Right. Mhm.
Um, all that being said, when we do have a business or when we have a schedule, how do we then make decisions based on what Hagen you've taught? Like, how do I, if I want to do a workshop and that feels really exciting to me, do I use the information that you've shared as a way to pick the date?
Mhm.
Because now I'm feeling pressure around January 22nd through the 27th.
Oh, pressure, 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 pressure. It's a radical thing, isn't it, to recognize like the pressure that we're in all the time. Like, oh my
Seriously.
goodness. Yeah. Good. Wow.
What? Really? What is with that? And is it because my root is open? Is that and I
Yeah.
feel the pressure more?
Mhm. For sure.
Okay.
And you have an open head center as well, right? If I
Yeah.
remember correctly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And we're all in just this pressure sandwich. And it's not that necessarily pressure is bad. It's not a bad
Mm,
thing, right? And root center is adrenaline and stress and good momentum and movement forward. We need that, right? Otherwise we would all just be kind of hanging around, not actually moving forward in our lives. But
mm,
it's just that for you as a generator with emotional authority, right? You have emotional authority, right? Yeah. So for you, it's really about just really seeing where your energy really wants to go
mm.
towards what you find satisfying.
Yeah.
That using your energy, in a way that continues to regenerate that sacral.
Mm,
Right?
mm,
Really receiving your satisfaction, noticing, oh, yes, I have the energy for this. I don't have the energy for that. Right. And like when it comes to work and business, right? Like Hagen and I, we put this workshop together. Right. And it's like we set a deadline, which is a root pressure. Right? Deadlines are from our pressure. It's like we have to get this done at a certain time. And but it's always a checking in of like, where's the energy? Where's the energy? Right. And so for example, when we were working on this, I didn't have a tremendous amount of energy to actually develop all of the slides and do the work. And Hagen was like, I got that. I can do that. And I was like, okay, perfect. So he really took the lead on this one and did that. And I just am holding the space and did other things. Right.
mm-hmm.
So it's like for you, because you're a solo entrepreneur, right? In terms
Yes.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really like having someone ask you some questions can be helpful around,
Mm,
do you have the energy for this or not?
mm-hmm.
Really, really helpful, especially when you're deconditioning in the early days. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
do you have the energy? And if no one's available, one of the things I really like to do is writing things down on a list,
Mm-hmm.
right? Getting all that mental pressure, all that root pressure out, Writing it down. Okay, here's all the things. I actually have my list somewhere here. It's over across the room, right? I've got a list that's not in any particular order. And then I go to the list and I'm like, do I have the energy? Right? And I just know, and really attuning to where the energy is, because the thing that's key is that when we follow our energy, there's so much more ease, and the doing gets done.
Yeah.
Instead of pushing through that field of resistance with pressure, we meet a whole bunch of resistance along the way.
Yeah. How did you create the deadline then in the first place? How do we create those deadlines? All that being said, because the deadline is a form of pressure. Sometimes we need that. We need the parameters for certain things.
Did you want to say something, Hagen? I heard
It's
you.
a great open root question.
It sure is.
It really is.
I was just thinking that too.
Right. And this is exactly how it works. Right. Alannah and I, we both have defined root centers.
Oh.
So there's a difference, and it's important because we have an internal sense of timing in that way. And the easy thing for us is that we also get to ask each other, right? It gets to come from the outside, which is handy. So I'm going to actually invite some other people here that I know have experience and an undefined root center. Jamie, I think you know I'm talking to you. How do you deal with deadlines?
Well, thank you for that invitation. I'm not sure I have the exact answer, but as you know, whenever Alannah speaks, I get out a note card and start taking notes. And so one of the things that stands out for me sometimes is recognizing no one has ever said to me, correct closing sequence. I love that phrase, by the way. Thank you for that. And part of what I would say to that, responding to the open route, is you take the pressure off by staying in the question, right? What if we spent more time in the understanding and allowing of what we needed to, what's emerging, right? So when you think about wanting to go to a deadline, well, the deadline can exist. The deadline can come around when it's natural for the deadline to come around, as long as you stay in the question, right, of what is emerging, what am I seeing? Because those of us with an open route, we're going to go, it's like, I've got this adrenaline going through my system. Like, I have to do something about it now. And especially since I'm splenic, I mean, I'm kind of, so the longer I can stay in the question, the longer I can be conscious about the decisions that I'm making, then it arrives at the right time. Because my focus is staying in the question, not succumbing to the pressure. Does that make sense? So you can
The focus
set
is
a
staying on the
target.
question, not succumbing to the pressure.
What's that?
Sorry. Yeah. I really like that. Staying in the question, not succumbing to the pressure.
Right. And that takes the pressure off. And so you can allow whatever is emerging to whatever date that you want to do, because then you're being conscious about how everything aligns with your strategy and authority. All of these things begin to appear, right? So you kind of reverse engineer it to get to those where the people who have their defined roots are, where we aren't. Because we'll always have that constant, well, I think I should do it now, maybe now, maybe tomorrow we should do it. But if I stay in the question, then it emerges. That's my only offer at this moment.
Stay in the question. What's the question?
Is this the right time? Is this the correct time for me to have a deadline for my project? Is this the right time for me? Does that make sense then? Your answer, staying in the question takes that pressure off, or helps in any way.
Thanks, Jamie.
And I'm also getting here, like, as I imagine into that, like, what I imagine is going to emerge also is options. Like, you have multiple options, and then the question of, okay, which option actually feels better? right? It's like, oh, maybe this date, maybe that date.
Mhm.
And there could be a reason for this date and a reason for the other date as it bubbles up,
Mhm.
right? And then when you have a platter of options before you, you'll be able to sense and feel which one feels better to you, right? Which one doesn't feel too forced, which one feels more satisfying, which one feels like, oh, this is the one that I have more energy for or feel more available for. The right?
Oh, I was just gonna
Um,
say, and as an emotional person, what's the most obvious choice?
what's the most
What,
obvious?
what once you're clear about it, yeah, for
Once
sure.
you're clear about it, it becomes the most obvious choice.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
When I think about options, usually then I'm in my head. I'm in my
Uh-huh.
head thinking about my options, and then I'm going back and forth, and then I can never decide. And I did want to add that when someone else gives me a deadline, it's done. I'm all about it.
Right. Yeah, yeah, there you go. Yes.
There's no problem. I'll reach that deadline before it even happens,
That's
and there's
right. Open
there's
route.
no.
That's it.
But when I have to create the deadline
Yeah,
myself,
yeah.
I it's really difficult for me to reach it, or then I'm creating options, and then I'm like going back and forth, and then nothing
Mhm.
happens.
I see. Right.
Mhm.
Right. So then it sounds like you have beneficial collaboration with somebody else who can help you define
Mhm.
when the
Yeah,
deadline is.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
I think that, yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Does ChatGPT work as someone? No, this is a
Let
serious
us
question.
let us know. Let us know.
Is that is that something that we're responding to?
For
Just
sure. For sure.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been experimenting a little bit with that. Like, didn't you send someone? Didn't you send someone, Hagen, some questions in chat that you were having them work with at some point?
That wasn't me.
Oh, yeah, that was a while ago. Um, yeah, where we were experimenting with if chat asks a question, do you get a sacral response,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But I'm not a generator, so it was somebody else who was,
Hmm.
doing that
Experiencing it.
experiment.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I tried it when chat first came out. Yeah, but I have my own sacral question person here live, so I'm lucky that way. So it would make a big difference though, Kat, to have somebody to ask you some questions. Yeah, a good collaborator. So yeah,
So much.
yeah,
Hmm.
you bet. Thanks for being here. Mhm.
Appreciating the question specifically too, because it is highlighting that we don't exist in a vacuum.
Mhm.
Like, and as I go deeper and deeper into the experiment with human design, it's so obvious, for me at least,
Mhm.
how relational also this all is. And it's it's easy to be experimenting on your own and then trying to find the solutions when the solution and getting stuck there because the solution ends up being a relationship in some way, where it's the solution is somebody on the outside collaborating with me so
Mhm.
that then my intelligence can show up in the right way and I'm not stuck in my head and whatever. That there are certain parts of us that come online exactly as they are meant to function in that relational space. And so I think one of the really beneficial time periods of these four stages is going to be that reflection on your allies,
Mhm.
right? And in your human design experiment, like who are your allies?
Mhm.
I've seen that make the difference for people time and time again. And I know people here who can attest to that too. So yeah. So thanks so much, Kat. Thanks for bringing that inquiry. Mm.
Okay, a little more time if anyone else has any other questions or shares. Heidi, I was looking at you, Heidi. I was wondering if you.
First, I resonated with everything Kat said and have a hard time with deadlines that I have to implement. But the thing that really struck me is when Hagen was talking about, I don't remember which gate it was, but like the melancholy around the new year, and that has been present for me for as long as I can remember. Like New Year's Eve, this time of year, I'm like down in the depths of not all the joy that people expect us to be in. And I just like the New Year's songs come on, and I really would just rather hibernate and cry to them than go out and party. So that really that resonated with me. It felt validating as well. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. It's just all my open centers. And that one chart you had up there looked very familiar.
Yes. I wondered if you recognized it.
I was like, wait a minute, that's my chart.
It sure is.
I'm like, oh, yep. So that was actually really fun for me too. But yeah, that sense of melancholy was hit home for me. I was like, yeah, cool. I'm doing what I'm here to do.
Yeah, and for you, that 38 comes in and hooks right up to your 28. And so that brings the channel of struggle in, and that is a really heavy melancholy channel. So yeah. And yeah, I feel there's very good to know that these ways that we've been feeling like all our lives, right? Like you're saying, like your whole life around New Year's, there's always been this like heavy sadness, melancholy that comes in, and yet outside, like Times Square, the ball's falling and we're supposed to be celebrating. It's like, right, but the internal experience is so very different. And there's something that feels so nice about just being in alignment with that and accepting that. And I'm super curious to see how, this sequence unfolds for you and with this information.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I did my nerdy like mapping out to the witch's wheel, and like everyone wants to make intentions at the solstice, but I'm like, that's not the time to do it. It's like right before Imbolc, which is the same timing that is here it's present in human design. I'm like, oh cool, this gives me an additional like layer to kind of weave that in. So yeah, I'm excited about it. So thank you both for sharing and bringing this to us in this group space.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for being here, Heidi.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes for everybody. I would love if anyone wants to share, you want to send us an email and let us know how it went, or what you've been discovering. We're just super curious to hear how this time goes for you. Yeah, Julia, hi. Oh, I can't hear you.
Maybe there.
There, yes, thank you.
I had another microphone. I just want to share that for me, also reflecting on you sharing your experience following this alternative way to closing each year. It's been also my experience for a number of years now. And I just find that it's so important to bring honor and respect to closing cycles, which is not what is common. What is the conditioning is like celebrating the beginning, celebrating the bright new things, but never really giving the chance for the things to slow down and shed its skin and decompose, or whatever the natural process is of closing cycles. And that's what I've been learning by following these transits every year, like how sweet it is to just know that I don't have to run and eat 12 grapes in 1 minute, each one representing 1 month. I can even swallow them. That's one of the practices here in Mexico. And I always hated it. I was like, do I really have to do that? Oh my God.
It seems like a lot.
And also reflecting how this goes back to back with many traditions, like, like Steiner talk about the 12 nights after the 24 and how that is representing each month of the following year, and all these connections with the natural cycles. So it's just the invitation of slowing down is for me like, I don't have to run and finish everything, because on 12/01 of January 1st, the world is going to change or something big is going to happen. So I really, really appreciate that you share this. Thank you. Thank you for this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I really, really appreciated what you bringing that in, right? That like deep permission to allow things to end and to close and to really like kind of find the deceleration, right? The exhale, the rest this time of year, and really like allowing this. Thank you for bringing that piece in and really naming that. It's super important, especially in it's because it's so counter to our cultural conditioning, and so it's so good to know that those of us here are participating in that and really recognizing like that, like also syncing up with the cycles, like in winter, right? This is a hibernating, a quieter time, and the beautiful piece of that is that as the more that we rest and the more that we hit that kind of these gentle oscillations as they come down, that there's actually more energy on the other side. So then there's the potentiating of the sacral, right, that actually happens instead of overdoing all the time. So yeah, thank you for naming that and bringing that in. It's really lovely to see you too, Julia. Thank you for coming too. Yes, Jamie.
It was a wonderful question that you opened this up with. I realize we now have AI that tracks all of our conversations and can go back and recap, but how we end a chapter shapes up what comes next. Do you remember saying that? And that invites that sort of like conscious endings that you've been talking about. And when Hagen spoke, this whole idea that we are desyncing with natural rhythms, and that we are we are all on a clock that is somehow tuned to modernity, right? It's almost like, I can vividly, when you were talking about the tradition of the 12 grapes at midnight, my husband is Spanish, so, I always thought that was a strange thing to do. Yeah, like at the beginning, like I'm stuffing as fast as I possibly can to make sure that I start the new, because if I don't, something really bad is going to happen to me if we don't do it. But it's recognizing that everything is sort of like an end of year sale. Like it has to get done right now, and we're not going to get set up correctly. And so that's why I just wanted to harken back to what you said, Alannah, at the very beginning of this, which I'm accepting that sort of as an invitation. How do we end how we end this chapter shapes up what comes next. So that's inviting me to look at what are these endings, and all of the things that Hagen you put in those slides were questions that were reflective about the past at the new year that go on longer, which I thought was brilliant. Did you find your purpose? Not do you have your purpose? Like in other words, any of the questions that were you asked in those explanations take the pressure off to not have the answer to, well, what's my purpose for 2026? Wait, why don't we spend some time reflecting?
That's right. Yeah.
Did you find it? Who were your allies? What did you see? And all of that just continually helps decondition this whole idea. Well, I have to have the answer. It's January 5th. Where's my timetable? My calendar should be filled with, so anyway, brilliantly done. So thank you.
Yeah, a brilliant summary there too, and reflection, Jamie. Thank you. Like it's reflecting back on the year. And that kind of what Julie was talking about, the down, right? And then what actually happened, what's coming. That's the mystery. That's the exciting thing that we don't actually have to think about or figure out or any of that kind of stuff. And it is absolutely essential And I know this from, this is my authority in human design, and it's also my son. The 42 is my son, is that it's absolutely essential that we end things properly so that we don't repeat the same patterns again. And when I learned that in human design, I was like, okay, like how can I get better at really ending things correctly? Because otherwise I'm just going to get right back on that same wheel and do it all over again. And I don't want to do that. So yeah, really, really important. Yeah. So really, I'm feeling quite satisfied over here on the side. How are the other generators feeling? Good. Nice. Back rolls are humming. Our projectors are here. Thank you for your contributions. And yeah, nice to see you, Joni. Yeah. Yeah, great. Yeah, well, many, many blessings on this sequence, this closing sequence. And as I said, please send us a note if you'd like to share a bit more about your experience. And I'll be sending the recording out in addition to those 5 slides that we went through too. So, okay. All right, until next time. Lovely to be with each of you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye for now.